Here is the expanded HFY Sci-Fi story, based on your title, written in a single document, in simple English, without any part headings, and totaling approximately 4,500 words. Document title: Otherworldly, being shocked by humans converting anything into weapons. Best HFY collection. Sci-Fi Story. Galactic Council's observation deck was a marvel of crystalline engineering. It floated in the silent void between star systems, a transparent sphere large enough to hold a small city. Inside, representatives from a dozen advanced species watched the swirling colors of the Viridian Nebula. Today, however, their attention was fixed on a much smaller, uglier patch of space, the orbit around the human colony world of Dust Bowl. Ambassador Xyler of the Thranti Federation clicked his mandibles in irritation. His species were masters of energy manipulation. They could turn sunlight into solid matter, gravity into propulsion. To him, the humans were a biological joke, soft, slow, and burdened with a ridiculously short lifespan. Yet, here they were, demanding a seat on the council. Not because they were wise or ancient, but because of one terrifying talent. The humans could take anything, absolutely anything, and turn it into an instrument of death. They are doing it again, whispered Ambassador Vel of the Aquatic. Quell, her bioluminescent spots dimmed with unease. Look at the sensor data from Dust Bowl. The primitive human settlers are under attack by the Crixie swarms. Xyler waved a dismissive claw. The Crixie are a level 3 hive mind. They consume metal and reproduce every 6 hours. The humans have no energy shields, no plasma cannons, no gravitic shear weapons. They are farmers, Vel. They grow plants. Vel projected a hologram into the center of the deck. The image showed a red, dusty plain. On one side, a wave of chitinous black Crixie creatures, each the size of a large dog, scuttled forward. Their mandibles clicked in a synchronized rhythm that jammed simple electronics. On the other side stood a group of human colonists. They wore patched clothing and wide-brimmed hats. In their hands, they held objects that made no sense. One human, a woman named Alara, carried a long metal tube. It was a piece of irrigation piping. She had capped one end, filled it with a mixture of ground-up fertilizer and sugar, and inserted a fuse. Xyler zoomed in. That is a water pipe. It is for moving liquid. The human woman lit the fuse. The tube erupted with a deafening roar and a cloud of gray smoke. A solid chunk of lead, carved from a fishing weight, shot out the open end. It traveled faster than sound. The kinetic energy alone punched through 3 Crixie warriors, splattering black ichor on the red dust. The Thranti ambassador's mandibles froze. She propelled a dense object using a rapid chemical exothermic reaction inside a hollowed plant watering conduit. Xyler whispered, his scientific mind trying to categorize the event. That is barbaric and ingenious, but Alara was not finished. Beside her, an old man named Heston had dismantled his harvester. The machine was meant to cut wheat, but he had reconfigured the blades. Now, a spinning rotor with sharpened metal teeth was attached to a battery pack. He held it like a shield. When the Crixie got close, he simply walked forward. The spinning blades turned the alien creatures into a fine red mist. The Quell ambassador turned away, her stomach gurgling in disgust. That is an agricultural tool. Xyler shouted at the hologram. It is for plants. The human ignored the invisible observers. He grinned, a flash of white teeth against his dusty face, and revved the spinning blades again. Another wave of Crixie died. Then a young human boy, no more than 12 cycles old, threw a glass jar filled with a clear liquid. The jar shattered on a Crixie's hard shell. Nothing happened for a second. Then the creature burst into green flames. The liquid was cleaning solvent. The boy had added a powdered metal shaving to it. It was a sticky, incendiary bomb that burned so hot it melted the chitin to slag. Xyler slumped into his floating chair. Cleaning solvent. They weaponized cleaning solvent. The battle lasted 14 minutes. 400 Crixie warriors were reduced to scattered remains. The humans lost none. They had no armor, no formal military, no advanced technology. They used pipes, farm equipment, and household chemicals. After the fight, the woman Alara picked up the empty irrigation pipe. She did not throw it away. She began carving a spiral groove inside the barrel with a sharp rock. Xyler watched, his mandibles now clicking in terror. What is she doing now? He asked. Vel analyzed the motion. She is cutting a twist pattern. It will make the next projectile spin when it exits the tube. That will increase accuracy and range. She is upgrading her water pipe. The other ambassadors on the deck had gone silent. The elegant, serpentine-ish masters of biological warfare were taking notes. The crystalline Gorn, who thought in pure mathematics, were recalculating the probability of human aggression. The numbers were not favorable. Later that cycle, the council convened in emergency session. The humans were not on the agenda, but they dominated every conversation. Xyler stood and addressed the assembly. I have studied the species known as Homo sapiens for 40 of their years, he began. I have seen their history. It is a horror scroll. When they first learned to shape stone, they did not make better bowls. They made axes for killing each other. When they discovered fire, they did not just use it for warmth. They put it on the end of a stick and threw it. When they learned to ride animals, they did not just travel faster. They formed cavalry charges. Their entire evolution is a constant, obsessive, and horrifyingly creative journey of converting every single object, idea, or substance into a weapon. The Gorn ambassador, whose name was a series of prime numbers, projected a list. Item 1 Mabi, a small flying insect that produces sweetener. Humans weaponized it. They put entire hives into ceramic pots and threw them at castle walls. Item 2 A chair, an object for sitting. Humans have beaten, stabbed, and thrown chairs at each other for millennia. Item 3 Fire extinguishers, a device to stop fire. Humans fill them with ball bearings and use compressed gas to fire them as shotguns. Item 4 Potatoes, a root vegetable. During a war on their own planet, they used hollowed-out potatoes as explosive timers. Item 5 A printing press, a machine for sharing knowledge. They used it to print propaganda, which is a weapon of the mind, and also to print blueprints for better guns. The council chamber grew cold with fear. This was not a warrior race. Warrior races built warships and trained soldiers. Humans did not need warships. They landed on a planet with a box of scraps and a bad attitude. And within a week, they had turned the local flora, fauna, and geology into a defensive network that would make a seasoned general weep. Ambassador Vel raised a trembling tentacle. We must propose a motion. We ban humans from possessing any objects. Empty rooms. Only then will they be safe. The Hish ambassador, a creature of coiled muscle and venom sacs, hissed with dark amusement. You fool! They would weaponize the empty room. They would sharpen the corners. They would trap the floor. They would fill the air with their own screams to disorient an enemy. You cannot disarm a human. You can only give them a reason to be creative. A new alert flashed on the main screen. A distress signal from the Outer Rim. A pirate fleet belonging to the Vorlag Syndicate had attacked a human medical transport. The pirates were known for their ruthlessness. They had energy shields and phase shift cannons. The medical transport had no weapons. The council watched, helpless and morbidly curious. The human medical transport was a converted ice hauler, a bulky, slow ship painted white with red crosses. Inside were 3 humans, a pilot, a doctor, and a nurse. The Vorlag pirates locked on with tractor beams and demanded surrender. The human pilot, a man named Ashok, looked at his instruments. He had no missiles, no lasers, no railguns. He had a sick bed. He had a kitchen. He had a cargo hold full of medical supplies and frozen water. The pirates cut a hole in the hull and began to board. They were reptilian creatures, tall and thin, wearing powered armor. They expected terrified prey. Instead, they found the nurse waiting for them in the corridor. She was a small woman with gray hair. She held no gun. She held a pressurized canister of anesthetic gas. She had bypassed the safety valve. The canister was now a directional chemical sprayer. She emptied it into the first pirate's faceplate. The gas was not designed for his alien biology. It caused his nervous system to interpret all sensory input as extreme pain. He collapsed, screaming in a language no one understood. The second pirate rounded the corner and saw the doctor. The doctor was a large man with calm eyes. He had removed the batteries from the ship's cardiac resuscitation unit. He had connected them to 2 metal paddles. He had increased the voltage to maximum. When the pirate raised his phase shift cannon, the doctor touched the paddles to the metal floor. The entire corridor became a live circuit. The pirate's powered armor conducted the electricity perfectly. He convulsed once and fell, smoke rising from his joints, the pilot, Ashok, led the remaining 3 pirates on a chase through the cargo bay. The bay was filled with large, square blocks of frozen water, ice. The pirates fired their cannons, melting the ice into steam. The steam filled the bay, cutting visibility to 0. Ashok had grown up in a desert. He knew how to move in a dust storm. The pirates did not. They fired blindly. Ashok used the sound of their shots to track them.